79T 2458 Learning Corp. Little Red Riding Hood, take one.
What's going on, fellas? How's things been treating you? Do you have a good morning? It's daylight savings. You got to sleep in, aren't you lucky? Aren't you guys gosh darn lucky? All right. Terms of service. Been 8 seconds yet? Can we officially start cussing like sailors? Dude, good morning. I haven't had the coffee yet. It's actually, that's first sip. That's first sip. And I know a lot of you guys hate the swallowing sound. Anyways, it's going to be a good one. Ryan got dirt on Rolo. Okay. Full disclosure, it's the title's a bit clickbaity, but I think it's things you guys need to know. So yeah, it's an expose of the rational male. I hope you guys weren't thinking it was Rollo Tomasi or anything like that. Show a pic of Rollo's junk. No, I'd never show that off. He got that for me specifically, so it's good. Anyway, so I don't think a lot of people understand like the history of this space and how it applies to you. So I thought, why not take some time and actually talk about this stuff? Because once you understand a few basic concepts and a couple of the history of some things, like all this stupid stuff you see nowadays on the internet is pretty surprising. All right, yeah, get it out of your system, fellas. Get it out of your system. Anyways. So I'm going to talk about synthesis first, which is, well, you know what? That's kind of the expose. Synthesis. And then critical thinking and sex is taboo. It's going to be a really, really, really deep dive. Normally, I like to have 5 points when we bring it onto here, but we're going to go with just 3 because I think it's worth it. I really do. Okay. What's the expose thing? Well, people forget the manosphere doesn't exist. And I know I've said this like 800 times, but I'm going to say it 801 because from what everybody's teaching me about marketing, and I know very little, but the little bit I do know is if you aren't saying it 1,000 times, somebody will not know what you're talking about. I still got guys in my YouTube comments getting mad at me for not saying anything and not having proper like advice on my stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know, out of the 500 videos perfectly curated for you, I'm sure you could find them, but whatever. Anyway, so what do I mean by the expose? Well, like knowledge or wisdom, whatever you want to call it, bodies of work, that sort of thing. It used to be, what was the newest thing, right? Oh, we discovered the atom. We discovered this. We discovered that. This is great. Everything is new. Everything is new. And then as things get new, it gets harder to invent new stuff. So people have to specialize. You don't have the case of like the old Renaissance thinkers anymore who's like, yeah, I paint on the weekends and I invent a tank on Tuesday. You know, that's a Leonardo da Vinci thing. Then now you have to get guys that, well, I'm a scientist. And you're like, well, I'm a nuclear scientist. Well, I'm a regenerative plutonium nuclear scientist. Like, you know what I mean? Everything. I can't believe Hulk Hogan turned an Ultimate Warrior. But yeah, everything has to get hyper specialized. Now, the problem with that, and you guys are seeing, like, this is not just Red Pill. This is everywhere. You guys are kind of seeing the consequence of that. So as everybody becomes hyper specialized, nobody's able to see broader patterns, broader picture stuff. This is why you have people that, like, I'm a PhD in ethics, and here's how you euthanize children. Or Sam Harris is actually a great example. What's his thing? Was it philosophy or... I even can't remember what his science is. I'm going to have to look this up. Is he looking stuff up on his damn podcast? Yes, he's looking stuff up on his podcast. The research you do prior only goes so far. Samuel. Ooh, that's a... Okay, philosopher, neuroscientist. Okay, neuroscientist. So he does brain stuff. Guy studies the brain for a living. He's been doing that his whole life. He's one of the... I don't know as far as neuroscientists go where he ranks, but he's got to be top 10. Meanwhile, can't even get out of his own head. Can't even get out of his own head. And that's the point, is that there's all these specializations there. And the ones that I want to focus on here are evolutionary psychology, the idea of there's an and that was based on anthropology. Anthropology is going to look through old skulls and bones and stuff and find out about the history of people. And then psychology was about studying the human mind and how to repair damage that's been done. And then evolutionary cytology was the idea of taking evolution, anthropology, and psychology and merging them together, a synthesis. And so that was the idea that we could possibly know about our caveman DNA based on, historical evidence here, that, and the other thing. Now, I'm not the best at reciting that facts and figures and cites and sources, because to be fair, I don't really find much value in it. I can tell you what some guy said, but if you're, and I hate that I even have to mention this, man. Like, if you're still online quoting statistics and research papers that you barely read the title on, you definitely didn't read the abstract on, let alone the methodology, you're basically just flipping a coin. Among the soft sciences, of which Evo Psych is a soft science. In fact, everything outside of mathematics and physics is basically a soft science. The 50% chance that it's not replicatable. In other words, the guy did the study, found out something new, and nobody else can get the same thing to replicate, so it's not a very good study. It's basically made up gobbledygook. And nobody seems to be willing to address that half of the science that's coming out right now is wrong. And that's at best. You get some of the super soft stuff, like the social sciences, you get up to like 80%. So literally worse than a coin flip. At least a coin flip is 50-50. Chemistry, thank you. What does this have to do with exposing you to the rational male? Well, it's everything to do with it. That's the point. So you get all these broad topic thinkers creating specialized industries, and the specialized industries are because, and there's like, I'm not going to get into it, it's kind of off topic, but the reason that so much research is crap right now, hint, money and prestige. You're now in a situation where there's just too much information, too much knowledge, not enough replication, and no way to know for sure. As the topics get more abstract, that's the other thing. Like, when you get a study that says eating chocolate helps you lose weight, you can replicate that. Or it turns out you can't because it doesn't exist. But the certain paper was there. But as you start getting more abstract, and when it comes to psychology, you're definitely going to get that. Why are so men celibate right now? Like, why aren't men getting laid? That's a complex question, man. Oh, what's that stat? And assuming it's true, 30% of men haven't had sex in the last year. Oh my God, that's horrible. Well, what was it 20 years ago? Oh, it was like 15%. Oh, geez, that's a 5% increase. That's pretty bad. I mean, it's not soul crunching bad, but that's worse. So why is that? Well, you get some bozos with ponytails and giant goatees with goatee rings on it trying to tell you the reasons. And of course, it's easy. What's that thing Peterson talks about? The unipolar whatever McCollums? That's the scientific jargon. You just try to follow along. Where you just think, oh, it's one reason. It's because men aren't deferring to women enough. Well, I have some more stats to prove it. And everybody's trying to break down these very complicated things. And I don't think it's necessary. And again, what's this have to do with exposing you to the rational male? I'm getting to that. So now you got a bunch of people giving gobbledygook. And the problem is when you're doing something that's not replicatable, it's essentially guesswork with a rationalization attached. You do statistics. The statistics you do are trying to find a specific thing. And so subconsciously you kind of gear it towards what you're looking to see. Everybody sees what they want to see. It's beer goggles for the intellectual. And everybody comes up with their own theories and none of them are replicatable. And then if you do get a chance to, like, guys are like, yeah, talk to women, communicate more, blah, blah, blah. That's like the general thing that's come out. Mostly because it's safe. Like, it can never get rejected. Communicate with your woman more. That'll get you a better sex life and a stronger marriage. Hey, doc, I tried that. Didn't work. She divorced me, took the kids, half my stuff. Well, you just didn't communicate hard enough. And this is the one thing when it comes to people giving advice on the internet and why I cannot stand it, is that the answer is always, my advice was good. You were wrong. Everything is like that. Aboutlifting.com. I see you there. I'll get to your question in just a sec. Everybody else is wrong. It's not my theory. Psychology, same thing. You got a bunch of shrinks. Yeah, well, what you need, and I can't believe I'm hearing it from both sides, like that Kyla chick and Dr. Sean Smith. One like a psych student, the other one full-on psych, full-on shrink. Well, the trick is you need to get a masculine therapist. It's like, wait a minute. So was the work itself not good enough? Like, I don't need a masculine doctor performing heart surgery. I just need somebody who's able to perform heart surgery. So if I get somebody who's able to perform psychology or psychiatry, Should it really matter? And if it does matter, then what do I need the psychology for? What do I need the psychiatry for? The whole point is that, yeah, it's like either it doesn't matter and the field itself is kind of biased and unreplicatable, at least for men, or it does matter and the field is still bunk and it's not helpful for men. Yeah, I communicate hard. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Marty. So what does this have to do with exposing you to the rational male? Like, I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that, I promise. So this is the landscape you're in, where nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody is absolutely positively knowing what they're doing with great theories that work out well and are just so perfectly inclined to blame you and not the theory for whatever it is you're trying to do. You got a whole industry that's built on it. Everybody's 8 years of schooling, investment in their company, everything is based on it. And what do we end up having from it? Chicks are binge drinkers. Chicks are on SSRIs. Chicks are depressed. Chicks are single. Chicks are angry. And chicks are in debt. Guys are depressed. Guys are self-deleting. Guys have no sex. And guys are yelling at women online. Fucking well done, guys. At no point does any raindrop think it's responsible for the flood. And now you have this entire industry, multiple industries, multiple fields of study, lives, works at stake. Not one thing moving in the right direction. Blur, I'm not even, he's like, oh, well, 25% of them is men. Mostly it's women dominated. It's like, it doesn't really matter. It's a buzzword, man. It's no different than talking about, it's like seed oils. Seed oils will solve all your problems. Really? I had some non-seed oils and I'm still, my heart's still hurting. Yeah, well, you just didn't not seed oil hard enough. It's like, Jesus. So what did we end up happening? Well, this is around this is like 30 years ago. It's like the 90s. And that's when pickup artist was kind of a thing. And it was just guys like, you know what? Everything sucks. Nobody's right. I'm going to go try it out. And they reverse engineered. And it's kind of a good way to go about it. So everybody tried to go from first principles and work their way up, and they got a whole bunch of nonsense. Pickup artist guys, they end up going from, all right, want to get laid, let's just reverse engineer what people are doing that works. Like typical Chinese goods, let's just steal what somebody else did, reverse engineer it, and try it again. It ended up working. Turns out there was a whole new replicatable system in place called go trying things out and A/B testing life. What does this have to do with the exposing you to the rational male? I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. So that system kind of worked until like the mid 2000s. So it had a good 10-year run and everybody kind of got weirdly tired of it. And Roosh was like mugging for the camera. A lot of his crap, like in Montreal, getting drinks thrown at him, people attacking him, got banned from Iceland and arrested in Britain and all this kind of weird stuff. And everybody kind of lost interest because the drama was just too much. They're like, oh, I'm done. I'm over it. I'm done. And then we went back to communicating and talking to shrinks. And what happened then? Well, an opioid crisis. I mean, that's not the fault of psychiatrists and that, but I mean, it didn't hurt the fact that they were the ones prescribing it. Yeah, and so when you look at it, like everybody has their own definitions of what pickup artistry was, but the point of this, and this is the part where I'm exposing you to the rational male, is guys took disparate fields, and this is the synthesis part of this. Disparate fields. What were they doing? All right, let's talk about, sales, sex and dating, a little bit of psychology. They kind of like went from the buffet of human knowledge, grabbed a couple different things from very different siloed experiences and put them together. And then a system kind of came out of it. And they're like, oh, it's kind of neat. It works. And it's still to this day. I don't care who you are. Like the technology changes, the venues change, the specifics change. But if you get the basic principles of like the mystery method or London Day Game, which is all the same thing, just different flavors, right? It's all sugar water. You find that it works rather well on two levels. And this is where I think science kind of, I don't want to say it goes wrong because it's out of the scope of science, but I think this is where people go wrong in 100% trusting science. Is that the old mystery boys, they weren't ever worried about, like, is this true? But they were worried about, does it work? And as long as you focus on the does it work and not the is it true or any moral fabric or whatever, don't get me started on that. As long as you worry about that stuff, you at least know that what you're doing is geared towards results. So you may be asking yourself, what does this have to do with exposing you to the rational male? And I'm like, we're getting to that. We're getting to that. So these guys were in their 20s in the 90s. And then, the 2000s, 30s, and 2010s, 40s. These guys grow up. They get families. They start businesses. They get jobs. They essentially stop partying all the time. But a lot of them found out things like, it's crazy. I went to go negotiate with my boss, and I just ran an opener on him, and it was great. And I got a new salary. And everybody was noticing there was these overflow effects that, oh my God, it turns out that like talking to chicks to get what you want, or at least expose you to chicks who want what you want, was a really good skill to have for whatever. And this is what it has to do with exposing a rational male. So Rollo, best I understand, he was going to university at the time after his rock star stuff. And he was in school for evolutionary psychology. Pinker, Stephen Miller, all those people. And he was learning this stuff. And because he's not like a specifically siloed thinker, he was the rock star guy in the 90s doing rock stuff and, sleeping with girls and having fun and doing all that stuff, right? So he took all of that experience he had that was completely siloed in this direction. And then he found the evo psych stuff, which is completely siloed in this direction. And he's like, hey, it's interesting. I wonder, and this is where the synthesis is like, this is where new knowledge comes from. I wonder if I can take these evo psych things here and map them to like the pickup and the my experiences stuff here. Because he was a part of the time, he was like an avid reader of SoSwap. He's kind of like me. Even though you're out of the game, you like to just like peek in and see how things are going from time to time. And it turns out you can. He was writing his blog for a while, and he was just taking evo psych principles and mapping them to like guys complaining on the forums about not getting whammon, or guys on the forums talking about like pickup strategies or something like that. And that is how you get exposed to the rational male. It's not the Bible of some brand new knowledge. It's not esoteric knowledge that the feminists don't want you to have. It is somebody who took the seduction of women pickup artist space and merged it with the Jeff Miller evo psych space. Synthesis. And that's how you get red pill. Ultimately, that's the red pill. Yes, he wasn't the only guy to kind of start it off. There was the common thing is it was the 3 R's, Royce, Roosh, and Rollo. If you guys don't know Royce, he's Chateau Artiste. Absolutely hilarious. He used to be part of his other blog. What was it called? Royce in DC. That was the one. Yeah. So he was like part of like a group of old pickup artists in DC, District of Columbia, which is apparently one of the worst places. I thought Toronto was the place that pickup went to die. That was the rumor. Turns out DC was just as bad. Roosh was from there. I think Cernovich was from there. Jack Murphy. All these. So it's like all these guys. You're like, wait, you mean the trad cuck guy? You mean the guy who like sleeps with trans people and that guy and the Roosh guy? Yeah. They're all like old pickup artists from the DC area specifically, which it kind of explains why they're so kooky right now, right? Luckily, Rollo, I think he's Venice Beach, and then he was doing most of his stuff in Nevada, so he kind of missed that. And this is one of the things, this is another reason like I like to consider myself more grounded, because it wasn't so much the field of study that made these guys go crazy. That Chris Williams, some guy just did a video, how come so many pickup artists are incels? Which I'm like, really, bro? Really? No, it's not. It's just that these guys were all in a sick city doing something, and the city made them sick. It's the same as like you're talking to people in Hollywood and you're wondering why they have this like fascination with dressing up like the devil, going to goat head parties and trying to sleep with 16. You're like, yeah, it's Hollywood. What did you think was happening down there? Well, the system's broken. It's like, no, that group of people there is broken, and they encourage those around them to be broken. That's how it happens. So I think, and that's the other part of the synthesis, is that he had the exposure of two disparate disciplines, but at the same time, he didn't have the exposure of the social toxicity that caused a lot of problems for these guys. And it was just like the perfect convergence of three different things. And the whole point of all this rambling mess, how much time we in here? The whole point of this rambling mess is so that you guys understand this is kind of how things work nowadays. Nobody really comes up with anything new. What we do as human beings specifically is we take the stuff that we already do know and have never been able to apply it anywhere and find practical uses for it. It's like the laser. For those of you who don't remember, in the 80s, lasers were the coolest thing ever. Oh man, The laser is here. It's going to solve everything. It was, as they called it, a solution in search of a problem. Took them 20 years from like 1979, whatever year it was made, to like the mid 90s till they finally started finding practical applications for lasers. Other than helping your cat run across the floor, you know? Yeah, it's like Ottawa, except for it matters. Exactly. And that's kind of where we are now. And this is one of those things like, so how does this apply to me? Well, this is how it applies to you. This applies to everything. If you're online, you want to build a brand, that's my example, then, you know, I have to take a bunch of disparate things. I take like marketing funnels, and then I take the idea of like my time teaching in Fleet School and all the stuff I've learned there. You take those two things there. You take the ability to like just my YouTube drama alert like thing where you go down those rabbit holes. And I see, how do people nuke their like personal brands online? You mix all these disparate things together that would have never merged. Never once in Fleet School did we ever have a conversation about YouTube personalities. Ever. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. They were either sailing, dealing with their families, working in their shed, or talking about the military. That was it. When you constantly have kids going in and out of like prison, military prison, not prison, and you have to run guard duty for 12 hours, strip searching and stuff like that, at that point, you get home and the drama from YouTube doesn't seem to matter much anymore. So yeah, synthesis. And so how does this apply to you? Well, in things in your life, you try to get a wide swath of knowledge about multiple different things. And then as problems or opportunities pop up, you're able to connect the dots together. Even if you're just a creative type, I paint on the weekends, I make music, whatever it is you want to do. Sometimes just being able to mix things together is good, like AI art. There were a bunch of nerds who learned about AI stuff, and there was a bunch of artists that do artist stuff. They looked at the two things together and tried to merge it. Is it going to work? Maybe, maybe not. But the point is, classical artists aren't thinking about AI, and AI computer nerds aren't thinking about art. So who is that guy who can think of both and make something new? And I would argue every awesome thing that's happened in the last 20 years has been from somebody who synthesized it. So as much as we've gone forward in time, we've actually gone back. What's that? Roland Rat was talking to me about that, the circular theory of history. We're back to the Renaissance. We're back to the Renaissance, where somebody who can wear 7 hats is more valuable. And this matters for you too. If you're single and you're picking up girls, that's great. Bro, just talk to her about this. Bro. It's like, no, man. We're going to go back to the days where you had to have like a degree in art history so you can bring a girl to a museum on a date, which is nice. It's quiet. You get to walk around, talk about stuff. She doesn't care about that, but she loves that this guy's passionate about something cool. Like I'll tell you a Navy story, and this is why I love the museum for like when I was chasing skirts. When I was chasing skirts, you see. This is why I love the museum. So I went to every foreign port we hit. Everybody always got drunk on the Friday we pulled in. So Friday you pull in, you're tired, you've been up for like 12 hours already, and you got to stay up for another 12. You get drunk, you get hammered, you pass out. Saturday, you sleep in till like 3 in the afternoon because you're so hungover and you're so sleep deprived. You get up, and then you only got maybe 6 hours to go hang out in a brand new city you've never seen before, because you have to be back for Sunday for your duty watch, which starts at 6:30 in the morning, which means you got to be home by 5:36. So instead of that, my buddies and I were like, dude, we're tired of like, we don't want to be these guys that have been to 20 countries, never set foot in any of them. So our first day, we would go and do all like any tourist stuff we wanted to do. So we were always sober. Hey, what's up? Say, what's up, Allie? Yeah, I have a friend who married a man who took her to museums. They're cute together. Yeah, it's good. Anyway, so our first plan was like all that stuff you were going to do, but you couldn't have time because you were too hungover. We'll do that on day one. Day one. And it's gone. Everybody's gone. Everybody's at the closest bar to the ship anyway, so you're never going to run into anybody, so you can be an idiot if you want. And then the Saturday you go party hard, and then, Sunday you're just hungover in your duty watch. It's great. So I took my buddies to the museum. I can't remember. Was it the one in Vancouver or... it doesn't matter. And I sat there and I'm like, oh, look at this. This is, Caravaggio. He does this. And this one here, this is a Wassily Kandinsky. And, oh, this is Jasper Johns. And this is why he did this. And this is the whole purpose of this. And they called me gay for 5.5 hours. This is the gay. I've heard more references to me sucking dick on that day than I have throughout the entirety of my time on the internet. And that's saying something. That's saying something. So I was so angry. I'm like, oh, I'm never taking you guys anywhere again. Ha, so gay. The boys get home. They one was married, one had a girlfriend. They go home and they're at their girlfriends and they whatever. And I remember I was hanging at my one buddy's house later on, like I don't know, a month later or something like that, some other time. And his wife and I were talking. And she goes, and when something came up about foreign ports, she goes, yeah, it's kind of cool how you guys decided not to get drunk and did what everybody else did. And now you're both owning homes while they're still renting their cars. And you're like, yeah. And then she brought up the museum. It was like, it was great. He came home that one day after you took him to the museum and he was like, oh, babe, you wouldn't believe how much I know about art right now. Like, this is a Caravaggio. This is a Jasper Johns. And this one here, oh, it's amazing. And she goes, he was ranting for like 2 hours about how cultured they were and how much better they were than the stupid other sailors and stuff. And I'm just like, you motherfuckers. So yeah, it made me laugh. But it was great. But that's a good story too. And this is another point, like when you're doing synthesis things, like it all kind of builds on each other. So for example, now I've got the art history background in my life. Then I got the military background in my life, puts me in a foreign port, bringing friends to a museum because I don't want to be drunk on a Friday so I can enjoy my entire weekend in whatever country I'm in at the time. Although at the time I'm pretty sure it was Vancouver. Now I have an experience. I've brought the experience to other people, and that one there was my friends, but I've done it with girls too. They just didn't call me gay for 5 hours on the date, so it's not a very good story. But now when I'm on a date with a girl, go to the museum, I tell the story about how my buddies called me gay for 5 hours. And it's a funny story. Like, I don't know, for you guys, it was engaging enough. You haven't turned off the video yet, last I checked. It's all synthesis. So what does this have to do with exposing you to the rational male? Everything. He talks about concepts like this. Just go in through his like first year stuff. About being more interesting, about the novelty of it, about gamer girls. Gamer girls is a great example of this. Like, girls don't have super nerdy hobby interests like guys do. They're just not wired that way. But psychologically, some girls are like, oh, there's not a lot of dudes in this space, or not a lot of girls in this space. I can get in, and I could be the best girl of the space. And they become gamer girls, and then they start taking an interest in stuff. So you mix all these things together and you find, like, kudos to Ali in the chat on this one too. Same thing. There's this red pill space. There's all these angry, ugly dudes. I could be in here and run this space. But yeah, it's all synthesis. And then the more you understand, like, the disparate things, the better off you get. Okay, so I have been holding off on this one because it's a question. It's a question. So from aboutlifting.com, thank you for the 137.50 pesos, I think. Don't quote me on that. Let's get in my lazy chair position for this one. What is your opinion on paying freelancers for sex? Well, I mean, technically I would pay a freelancer for graphic design, but I mean, if they throw in sex for free, I'll take it. No, I know that's a real question. One sec. I don't really have a strong one. I really don't. I don't, like, it's not for me, but I'm of the generation that was born and raised with like Napster and uTorrent and stuff. So it's like, I don't even pay for DVDs. Why would I pay for sex? But there's no moral aspect to it. A lot of guys do, a lot, and you'd think it's just like the lonely losers that can't get laid. It's like, they don't pay for sex. One, they're kind of cheap. And two, it's not sex they're after. It's companionship and love and validation. And that's why all these incel guys that keep having chicks like, just get a hooker, shut up and quit bitching. It's like, I think you're missing the point. They're isolated and they're looking for human interaction. They're not looking to get their rocks off. Porn can handle that. But I know a lot of the stories I hear are from guys who are sexually sick. Like, they're attractive guys. They don't need to pay for sex. But they do, and you're like, why? It's just because it's easier. Once you've dated more than like 10 girls, you start to notice they're all kind of the same. A lot of girls are just vapid, they're bimbo-y, and it's a pain in the ass, and they just do that calculation. Look, I can spend 6 hours whining and dining this girl who, when she speaks, makes my brain melt, and then 70% of the time we'll get sex out of it, but 30% we won't. And I'm already spending $200, so what's the difference between that and spending another $100, so $300, or whatever it costs, I don't even know, to get a professional to come in, do it, and get out. And I get that. I don't know if I agree with it or not. Like I said, I'm pretty agnostic towards the idea. I do remember when we were in Dubai, Rock Bottom, it's this bar down there. A lot of the expats go. It's the place to be. It's the place to be in Dubai. I don't know if it still is or not, but. And one of our bosons there, I actually wrote about it in one of my old blog posts, which is not important here, but everybody was all stressed out. Like, gotta get laid, gotta get laid, gotta get laid. Chasing girls here, chasing girls there, me included. The difference was I got laid, but anyways. And he was just calm, drinking his beer. He's like, boys, sit down. Let me tell you the trick. And all he did was, as soon as he got off the boat, got to the rock bottom, it was like 7 at night, got himself a hotel, hired himself a professional, which is very easy to find in Dubai. Just look for an Ethiopian, a Polish, or a Filipino girl. 99% of the time, they're professional. Lady of the night. Lady of the desert. And he's like, yeah, got that. I guess the rate was, he said the rate was like 120 American. And he's like, it's great because what happened is as the night goes on, guys become more desperate, the rates start going up. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So he goes, yeah, I do it right at 7. I don't have to sit here with all that pent up sexual energy. I can just sit here and enjoy my beer and have fun. And all these guys are going to go chasing girls. They're going to get knocked out of the game. And then at 3 a.m, they're going to have to pay $1,000 and they're going to do it because they're that desperate. And then he takes a sip of his beer like he had just won the lottery. And I was like, fair. Like, I don't know if that's the way I'd go about it, but you can respect a guy who's put that much thought into it. I guess Mr. Show Tim Podcast, I have a question for you. Do you still promote pickup artistry considering the pulled approach is dead thanks to OnlyFans? Oh, for fuck's sakes, dude. I don't care what technology is in place. Walking up and talking to a girl is never going to go out of style. Never going to go out of style. God, there's always got to be a Billy in the chat, man. Never going out of style. And as far as, like, do I endorse it? It's like, I don't know. My first book kind of talked about it. I don't think I can add much more to it. Cold approach only works if you have coiffed hair and a Hawaiian shirt. Thank you, madam. I'm kind of liking it. As it gets longer, this one's going to be the keeper. So, but that's the thing. So you notice this? Everything is kind of has a synthesis. This helps you too. Just telling stories. How does this matter for you? As you get more experiences like this, you have more stories to tell. Which, again, from the pickup space, there was part of the openers. Like, get somebody's attention. That's the opener. That's it's been too long. A1, I think, or no, A1, and then A2. PP, $100 super chat. That's 20 cuck articles. Thank you, sir. Heartfelt. I appreciate the wisdom. No worries, man. Like I said, as long as you're getting something out of this and you keep watching, I'll keep producing it. But again, $100 super chat. Thank you very much. Where was I going with this one? Fuck, what was I doing with that one? Cold approach, pickup, competition. Damn it. All right. Get after hookers. What the hell was I on there? Oh, the stories and the synthesis. Yeah, so the first step was an opener, like to get somebody's attention. The second spot was indicators of interest. The idea was like, you don't know if a girl is into you, so you play it cool, plausible deniability until you get, and it was just an arbitrary number, but 3 indicators of interest back. And the way you got that was you would tell stories, conversation, rapport, and your stories needed to have 3 displays of higher value peppered in. This is all arbitrary. Ideally, you kind of understand the concepts here and you kind of just naturally go through it in a way that makes sense to you. But when you're first starting out, you don't know your ass from a hole in the ground. So, like me telling that story about the museum, there's displays of there's DHVs in there. If you guys don't pick them up, here's a good example. 1, military guy. You tap into that whole, oh wow, I wonder if he has a kill count. And it's just like a side effect of the story. It's just like a superfluous detail. But girls love that shit. That's why they love reading fan fiction. The museum, culture. Oh wow, this man's a wise man. Bam. Guys, I have friends. Oh, he's not a social loser. They were ragging on him for 5 hours and he played it cool. That was pretty good. Oh, they all have wives and friends too, so he's well adjusted. Like, there's all these little things in here. Now, if the kind of girl you're after isn't one of those girlfriend types, those might not appeal to her as much. And so you'd have to use other DHVs, but you kind of have to play it by ear. Or the Dalkey story with the hookers. Oh, wow, he's been to Dubai. He's traveled the world. Oh, wow, he's in the military. Oh, wow, he's got... he doesn't pay for sex. He, like, just prefers to pick up girls. And some girls hate the prostitution thing. Oh, wow, at the same time, he doesn't judge. And that one is a huge DHV. Everybody's bitching about OnlyFans chicks right now. You want to know what a superpower is? What, like, a really hot quality to have? Non-judgmental exterior. I'm not saying don't judge, but judge quiet. Like, I won't call you in the morning, but I'll sleep with you tonight. Hope you do well with your business ventures, madam. Yeah, I used to lie to girls and tell them I was a pilot. Yeah, I used to lie to girls to tell them I was an accountant. Like, everybody does this. So everything builds on everything else. Again, synthesis. So I'm gonna...
Boom, what's up, fam? Got some big news to share that unfortunately is not so good, so I'm gonna jump right into it. You're gonna watch this video and you're gonna cry. At least we can laugh at your eyes as you cry, like in the corner like a little girl in the fetal position.
That goofy bastard is the... I think he still owes me $3,000. Oh, yes, he does. I remember this. Yes, because that stupid convention thing. So he did like the PayPal thing where he did chargebacks. Because all the people who sold tickets to the event, like, hey, come see me at the Florida event that shall not be named. And then you make half of the commission, 50% on commissions. And then he clawed all of that back from PayPal. But everybody I had tickets to still like kept the tickets. They went to the event or they just didn't refund it. So if he ever wants to get in my good graces again, he owes me $3,000. Either way, honestly, considering the pain that Rollo's gone through, if I just had to pay a couple grand to be rid of it, it's like it's well paid, sir. How much is Rollo paying? Rollo doesn't know I'm doing this show. I think you guys misunderstand how much collaboration goes on behind the scenes. Very, very little. Like, here, I'll let you in. You want to know? Here's some more exposing of the rational male. Sometime like Wednesday, we're all in there. We have a group chat, and it's mostly just laughing at, like, if anybody has a tweet, like, hey, this thing here is interesting. You might be interested in this. Hey, this one's hilarious. Like the joke tweet of the day. So we all like, oh, let's all quote tweet it and add some stuff. And then Wednesday rolls around. We're like, who's hosting? And then somebody somewhere is like, I think it's this guy. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not going to be here. Can you do it? Yeah, sure. What's the topic going to be? I don't know. And then Thursday, like, all right, I got a topic. Usually it's whatever one of you dumb shits makes the stupidest tweet. We're like, because I think the last one was about chicks getting fat, that cooking one. Like, hey, how about chicks not getting fat? And then Rollo's like, here, I'll do a thumbnail. I'm like, all right, sounds good. And if he's not able to, I'll do the thumbnail. And then we set up all the stuff, and then that's it. And then we come on the weekend, we chit chat. Hey, how's your week been going? That's good. A lot of the time when we ask, like, so what's up with you this week? It's not so much us pitching it to you. It's because we don't follow each other closely enough, so we have to get caught up with each other. Yeah. Oh, they banned you for that? Dude, how did they ban you for that? I've actually done some pretty hard F-bombs and gotten all right with that. Anyways, powerlifting.com, another 137.50. Synthesize AI and Pickup, an AI app that feeds you openers and response based on red pill information that's fed to it. I mean, try it, but here's the thing. Actually, you know what? I gotta make a timestamp for this one because I think this is actually going to be kind of interesting. 38:30. The reason I don't think... Oh, and to repeat for the recording, Synthesize AI and Pickup, an AI app that feeds you openers and responses based on red pill information that's fed to it. I don't think that would work because it fundamentally misses the idea of Pickup. Pickup was never like a how-to sleep with women guide. It markets itself as that, but that's not what it is. It's just training wheels. That's it. Like, there's a lot of guys who know how to pick up girls that have never seen anything on it. Absolutely, because it's not... The human condition doesn't change that much over thousands of years. So the same way somebody picked up a girl in 1976 is about the same as 2022. The only difference is like the topics, the landscape, maybe the technology, but the fundamentals are always there. Now, the reason that Pickup was good was because dad was out of the house, older brothers were never good with women, they followed the feminism line, like any one of those excuses, the outcome of it is a guy just doesn't know how to talk to women. He's awkward. He's frustrated and he has no experience nor anybody to draw experience from. Pick up the training wheels for him. It's like, all right, that's fine. You don't know what to do. Here's the purpose of an opener is to get a girl interested in you. Here's some things you can use as an opener. Here's some canned scripts. Memorize it. Remember Reservoir Dogs? Reservoir Dogs, that scene where Tim Roth had to remember this story about him in prison meeting some guy. And he had to memorize the story and practice the story and sell you on the story. It had to become his story. That's essentially all that was. And then you do these things, and then you notice, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. When it does work, it gives you some confidence, and then you build some stories. Remember what I was telling you before? The Dubai story, the museum story, all these stories. Now, and this was like, I was doing it as like a hobbyist, and I've told it before, where it was just with my sailing schedule, I either had to learn to speed up the process of sleeping with girls, or I was just going to be alone and lonely. So I'm like, all right, fuck it, let's do it. Yeah, so eventually you get your stories on notes. Now as an opener, I don't have to give the whole, is it cheating if you sleep with a girl in a different area code, which I think was like the textbook example they use. I can use my own examples. I don't have to give the story the canned scripts they use in the thing, because now I have my own stories with my own DHVs, and these ones are real. And so I don't have to make them up. I don't have to memorize them, because I knew them. I was there. All I have to do is recall what it was that happened. And then you don't need it anymore. You're able to ride the bike without training wheels. And that was the whole purpose of it. So I don't think AI is going to ever be able to replicate experience. At best, it's going to give you a different variety of openers or canned scripts. But again, if a guy's hyper focused on that, you're going to get Justin Wang. God, I love this guy. He's like got a cursory, like one toe into like the guys online talking about sex space. And it was one of those like, a girl does this. What do you say? From like one of them Guide for Lovers ones that I make fun of on Manosphere Mornings. And there was a bunch of guys with like these really stupid, cheesy fan fiction. Is this where you bring all the girls? Yes, every single one. Smirks fondly. Like that Redditor tier energy. That's what AI is going to do. It's just going to make those more sophisticated literotica for fucking, no offense to you guys, but East Indian dudes. So I don't think it'll help, honestly. And this is why everybody's talking about, what about OnlyFans and this? It's like, I don't care what technology is out there. Girls have been slutting around for as long as girls have been girls. The only difference is now it's easier to find out because there's a link to an OnlyFans as opposed to like the fucking 80s where I would hear guys had to find out because the rumors would get through the grapevine and come back to them. And then they'd have to go to the dude's house and fight him. So right now, if anything, got an easier pipeline from the hoe to housewife pipeline. But nothing's going to replace just talking, learning to talk in a systematic way, naturally, to be able to filter out. And that's the other thing. You never convince anybody to sleep with you. It's always a girl who's open to sleeping with somebody and finds you attractive. That's it. It's more of a filtering mechanism than anything. And learning to stop wasting your time with girls that don't want to sleep with you, but will take your validation or take your money or get a free drink and leave. So you're basically learning to stop wasting everybody's time and to become a more charming person. Because there is a sliver of girls that weren't interested in sleeping with anybody, but then met you and you were just that awesome. And so she's like, yeah, I'll give this one a go. I wasn't gonna, but hey. Most of the time it's girls that like, I'm mad at my boyfriend. I'm going to sleep with somebody. And then you show up with the big smile and $7 words. And she's like, done. Louis Vuitton doesn't have to sell you on why you want a purse. They just got the purses on display. And the girls that want one will buy it. Sam Whiskey, $4. Oh, thank you. $4.99 super chat. I just read Praxeology Volume 1. You, sir, have the heart of a teacher and the verbiage of a Prussian admiral. I thank you, or I am rather offended. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Thank you, I guess. But yeah, I was a teacher. You guys, I keep telling you guys this. I was a teacher in my past military life. One of my postings was at Fleet School, the West Coast Fleet School, and I had to teach a bunch of kids how to be. Yeah, that Justin Wang. He's the reason that what's his face, Rivlino got popular because he was making fun of him on a Streets of Rage live stream he did. Did you guys see this green line guy? I DM'd him later. I'm like, dude, that's hilarious. Like, I love seeing when guys like, you're the come and piss guy. Seeing you talk about this. He goes, oh, on the second channel. That's great because nobody else watches those. At least somebody's watching it. I'm like, yeah, no worries, bro. Yeah, so it's always kind of funny. I try to, like, if there's people that are useful and not stupid, I try to at least, like, at the very least say hi, thank them for some of the stuff that they've done that I enjoy. Because I don't think you guys know this as a content creator. If you have your DMs open, 90% of the people that message you want you to die. They want you to die. They want you to die. They want you to get graped. They're wondering how many dicks you've sucked. It's like the museum all over again. So I do make the effort, and if there's a content creator that I like their content, just to DM and say, dude, loved, and not like the emails where it's like, love your content. You want to get, no, it's like, I watched the thing, thought it was really good. Thanks, man. It's just to help somebody's, yeah, you got some hateful DMs. Well, everybody did. But I'll save that for the end if we got time. Right now, I'm going to get back on topic. Enough effing around. Critical thinking does not exist. This one, I didn't think it was even going to be worth the topic, but then the more I thought about it, the more I realized a lot of guys who do a lot of stupid things and fall for a lot of stupid grifters are all falling for the same stupid idea of critical thinking. There's some actual research behind this, and I'm not going to bother you with names and citations, shit like that. I'm just going to discuss the ideas. But there is this errant idea that there is a skill set outside of any particular knowledge base called critical thinking, and that you can throw somebody into any space, and if they're really good at critical thinking, they will survive and thrive in it. And it's just not true. It's not true. It's the same thoughts that got people thinking managerial skills were business agnostic, and that, you know, oh, just spend some time at Deloitte and then you could run any company. And it turns out you can't run any company. You could run it into the ground. Dark Knight Dev, $5 1 oh, bless you, sir. $5 1 cent super chat. I had a girl on my route tell me about her problems with her boyfriend. Don't want to become an emotional tampon. I told her just to weigh her options. Thoughts? What's the saying? Never dear, always dare. Dear, like defend, excuse, explain, rationalize. Now be the tampon. Just sexualize it, man. Starts talking about her boyfriends with the problems. You want to get revenge on him? You know, stuff like that. Yeah, you sound like you're pissed at him. Did you ever want to get back at him? And if she says no, then whatever. It's happened to me before. I won't name names, but I remember there was one of the girls. Was it here or online? I'll just say online. It's easier. Girls online complaining about their problems. And I'm just like, is your boyfriend there? No. He's off somewhere else. I'm like, and I kind of like, okay. And I realized, like, I'm trying to subtly just say, maybe this is his job, not mine. So eventually it was just like, talk to your goddamn boyfriend. So there's two ways you can go about it. Sexualize it or just establish a boundary. That's really it. Because, I mean, do you really want to hear about some chick venting about her boyfriend? It's like, dude, do you not have friends for this? So yeah, the only two answers are like, maybe you should talk to your husband about this one, or talk to your mom about this. Or, you know what would really piss him off? Those. Because beyond that, it's just like you've only got so much time on this planet. You're on your route, so you're at work. I don't know how many breaks you get at work, but if it's anything like I hear about America, you get 3 minutes to piss in a jug, and that's your only break. Or maybe that was just Amazon, or maybe both. So for you got to think, what would I spend my last 15-minute break on? A cigarette or here and here bitch about some dude? I'm like, I'm not into it. Not for me. Well, Sluggo, you're right. It's not an AMOG. It's technically boyfriend destroyer is what you're talking about. Like, I know these things have some cheesy names, but the purpose of that wouldn't be there. A boyfriend destroyer is when a girl's bitching about her boyfriend and you're in a pickup situation. You're actually supposed to take the boyfriend's side. The idea being that girls will argue with you no matter what you do. So, like, if you start calling her boyfriend a shitty guy, and he treated you bad, she starts arguing with you over how he's great and talks herself into loving him again. As opposed to you start taking his side, and so she argues with you about how he's bad, and then you take that and you roll with it. But again, this comes after like openers and that. If you're just in the middle of a route on a work thing and then a girl just starts venting about this, I don't think that's going to work nearly as well at all. I mean, try it, find out. But yeah, critical thinking doesn't exist. It turns out that in order to be good at thinking through any body of work, any situation, the one factor that matters more than anything, it's not IQ, it's not critical thinking, it's not anything, it's not seed oils. It turns out it's just being knowledgeable about the subject. There's X amount of facts and information and data and whatever about anything you want to talk about. Console games, neuroscience, philosophy, red pill, all of it. And the more you know about the topic, and the more you know about topics that are correlated with the topic or applicable to the topic, the better you are at what you would consider critical thinking. But if you take some guy who thinks of himself as good as critical thinking, let's say critical thinking is a thing and he's 100% at the skill, perfect world kind of scenario. You put him into a place where he doesn't have the knowledge, all he's doing is he's really good at rationalizing his ignorance. That's it. So when you see girls talking with absolute confidence about the sexual marketplace, when anybody with an experience knows they know nothing of what they're talking about, nothing, then you could say 100%, there's your critical thinking. It just doesn't exist. Tactical soap. Yeah. So there's no such thing. And all these people that chasing it. And you know what they do? They always chase it in the right ways. Did you ever notice that the best way to develop critical thinking is to listen to somebody's podcast and buy their merch? It's crazy, isn't it? Crazy. By the way, merch stored at ryanstone.com. Podcast, Red Morning, welcome. Yeah, and so a lot of people keep, like, and I know this is still going to sound like I'm fluffing myself, and I'm not, and Rollo gets the same thing. Again, I'm exposing you what Rollo, he always talks about getting run up the flagpole. Do you guys ever know why I giggle so much on that? Why I giggle when every time he's like, and they're running me up the flagpole? It's because, like, say what you will about him. You can like him, you can not like him, you can think red pill's misogyny, you can think he's helpful, you can think he's harmful. Put all that aside. The one thing he does well is he knows his shit. He has got his synthesized silo of Evo Psych and Pickup into red pill, along with the experience of like dealing with people in this red pill space for X amount of years. He knows his shit. He's developed this stuff. It's not that he's smarter than anybody else, which he probably is though, because I mean a lot of people are really stupid. It's not that he's smarter than anybody else. It's not that he's got better critical thinking faculties than anybody else. It's just he knows his shit because he's been here and he's paid attention and he's learned it. So when you hear some doofus, like, what's that guy's name? Nassim? The pool table jacket guy that I can't stand, but I don't even know. And he's like, this guy's running me up the flagpole. What he's essentially saying is like, this ignorant person is yelling me about stuff that we solved 15 fucking years ago. Like, oh, okay, fair enough. And it's not hard to get there. I got there in like 3 years where some idiot's like ragging on me. Like the idiot here, like, what do you think about, what's your thought on this and this? Now that OnlyFans' pickup is gone, it's like, dude, like, what do you want me to tell you? It's not hard. Pay attention, read a couple books, learn some things, and then have some experience and all this stuff will work itself out. I don't want to be seen in public with any red pill merch. Become a channel member instead. Hey, whatever works, right? What's this? The Alex Psych guy ended up confirming age gaps and I wanted to die. What women do versus what they say. I don't know why you watch him. He's the perfect example of when critical thinking runs amok. He reads studies and he comes up with theories, and that's no different than the unreplicatable science that we got today. He's got a theory about everything. He's got a statistic to back it up. No idea if it's replicatable. Doesn't even bother to try, but he speaks with confidence. He sells it to people. And then everybody buys it because, oh, wow, this is how critical thinking works. You read the abstract, the 3 articles, make a theory, and it sounds pretty smart. It sounds good. And you could persuade other people. Critical thinking. I'm so smart. It's like, you're not smart. You're ignorant. You're ignorant with a veneer of Joe Rogan. Yeah, and that's why. You ever notice, too? And this is where, like, I know what I'm talking about here. It's because, like, you look through education over the past, I think critical thinking became a thing like in the late 90s, early 2000s, where they started thinking of it as like a specific thing to teach. Before then, it used to be the 3 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic. I always laugh at that one. Yeah, so they started doing this, and you know what the outcomes were? And this is what always matters. It's always about the outcomes. Because if it's not, then why are you doing anything? Reading literacy went down. IQ's going down. Now, it's obviously not just because of this, but it's not helping at best. And this is if you want to give like the biggest steel man to this ever. You could say that there's all of these amazing factors that are dropping people's capabilities substantially, and that the critical thinking is the only thing keeping that 10% decline from being a 20% decline. So even if you get that example where critical thinking is amazing, great, and it's saving the world, the fact that so much effort is being wasted on that when it could be spent on all of these other things that are causing a huge decline, whether that's diet, school lunches, immigration, whatever the reasons are. The point is just the opportunity cost is too high. And that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is it's not helping. It's neutral or somewhat detrimental because it's giving people inordinate amounts of confidence based on things and they have no desire to learn anymore. The kids nowadays don't know shit. It's funny, the kids back in my day didn't know shit either. And in my parents' generation, those kids didn't know shit. It turns out kids just don't know shit. And the worst thing you could do to them is tell them, here's how you know shit without having to know shit. Why am I bringing this up on an exposing you to the rational male? Because that's the whole point. Sex is one of those topics that everybody expects to be some magical thing. You're not supposed to know it. You're not supposed to understand it. You have to hide that you're even interested in sex. You have to, I can't wear red. By the way, it's not Red Pill merch. It's Red Morning. It's the podcast. It has nothing to do with Red Pill. Having said that, the mug is a bit red pilly. Good for men, bad for education. And then my casual warning, don't eat paint. This whole thing is a big don't eat paint advertisement. Huge don't eat paint advertisement.
I don't usually post pictures of my kids online, but they're infants and you can barely see them, so, it's fine. But a YouTuber named Ryan Stone tweeted, showing off the F trophies for clout. So the babies are trophies that I'm showing off. It's perhaps not a surprise that a picture of a proud father would be so upsetting to the sort of man who clearly never had one.
Fuck you, Matt Walsh. Fuck you. Heartfelt. So it turns out this is like Glover stuff here. Why do you even listen to the guy? He's not 6 feet tall. Oh, nice. Governor. First guy to ever buy merch from the channel. T-Rex Army alumni. Governor Megatron in chat here. So somebody's asking in chat here is sex overrated? No, it's taboo. But that's the next topic. Right now it's people are so worried about being honest that they have to hide things. This is where guys are like, you got to be friends with her first and that, because ultimately they're like, if I just want you for sex, that makes me a bad person. Where did they come up with this asinine idea? Well, fucking Rational Male has this great thing about what he calls the feminine imperative, which are all of these hundreds of small little conventions that individually could each be rationalized in some very benign, plausible deniability stringing way. Well, you don't want boys to just chase girls because you don't want, because there's a lot of people raping each other in college, so you have to talk about sex not being okay. Wow, that sounds reasonable. It's totally reasonable. It's the Carl used to call it Black Label Logic, former guest or former co-host of the cast here, where it was death by 1,000 concessions. And so you get that example, and then you get, well, we need to train girls to be better in this, and then you end up with this very, I don't even want to call it sex negative. It was just more like be embarrassed about wanting to have sex as a man. And so you hundreds of these ones for all these kids of all ages, and they grow up to eventually hide the fact that they like sex with women. Oh my God, you like to put your dick in girls? I know, right? It's crazy. What a misogynist. All these anti-natalists sitting here. Actually, that is funny. The pro-natalists are the ones that are most like sex repressive, unless it makes babies. Whatever. Anyways, we're kind of rambling at this point. The point is, this is how the feminine imperative works. It's not some evil cabal. It's emergent strategy. It's girls want more for themselves in a land of abundance, and they want more control because that's how you stave off anxiety. Sean Bipley, sir, $100 super chat. The quiet protector, not the knight we need, but the knight we deserve. Never says anything. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate the kind super chat, and that'll be 20 heartfelt fuck yous for you, man. 20 of them. Wando, how much should we discount from under 6 foot advice? You son of a bitch. I'll tell you this much. The one guy I've known in my life who got more poon than anybody, there was 2. The one guy's nickname was Midget. He was 5'4". In college, bigger notch count than anybody. And I was hanging out with guys that were part of like the college volleyball team, which for Canada was a big deal. And then Mike, the guy I used to do pickup with, he was shorter than me. I think he was like 5'7". 5'7", 3,500 Dodge, 1 ton. Grab chicks left, right, and center. The height thing is the biggest non sequitur ever. ever. And I'm just like, everybody can talk about all the science and all the studies and all the charts that they want to, but I'm just like, I'm watching guys under 5 foot cleaning house. So I don't know what you want me to say. Good luck on your studies, sir. I'll trust my own eyes. Yeah, if you're not 6'6", just give up. So yeah, like, and this is like critical thinking is what got you to here. Like, let's say critical thinking is 100% right, 100% right. And you end up just using critical thinking by, well, looking at charts and facts and figures and designing your life around a spreadsheet. How good is the critical thinking? It just makes you more gullible and able to trust people who aren't even doing real science. Do you have any idea where that statistic came from that you're going from? Does anybody know where the 6 foot statistic came from? They're seeing a lot of people trying to opining on it. Nobody knows where it came from. And if you do, how was their methodology? How big was their sample size? What were the factors that mattered? What were the biases that can change it? Yeah, refer to jab papers. Oh, dude, don't even get me started on that. I'm trying not to get booted. Yeah, it's not even a psyop. It's ignorant people who think they're smarter than they are, doing what they have to do to make money, and nobody's calling them on their bullshit because everybody else is bullshitting. Everybody is lying. Everybody is lying. Nobody knows what they're doing. And in this world where nothing matters and nothing exists, the only thing you could trust is what you can see with your goddamn eyes and touch. If I can touch it and I can feel it and I can see it, it's true. Now, obviously, it doesn't work for everything. Business, there's great uses for like research and statistics in business. But we're not talking about business. That's a formal hierarchy. We're talking about an informal hierarchy. We're talking about fuckology here. Bigger deals. So yeah, do your own research. Does it matter? Do you have to be 6 foot to talk to a girl? Well, go talk to a girl. Find out. Does she be like, oh, you're a little shorter than I thought? Have you ever heard that? I have never heard that. Oh, you're shorter than I thought you'd be. Never heard it at all. I've heard girls call me everything from 5'6" to 6 foot tall. Turns out girls can't tell what height means. If it wasn't for that stupid piece of tape on the 7-Eleven door, they wouldn't know how tall anything is. So yeah, critical thinking doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's not useful. It's not good. It's just cope. It's always been cope. And the problem is like people have this real emotional need to cope. Huge emotional need to cope. If you're lonely, if you're not having sex, if you're socially awkward and don't know how to start, yeah, it's going to take a fair bit of work to get you to a point where you're fuckable, or to where the point where girls want to invite you over, even just to hang out as friends or whatever. So that's a lot of work. You know what's cognitively a lot easier? To blame women. To blame, and then you're like, oh, but I love women. You know that whole, like, we have an innate predisposition to preferring females as opposed to men? The female in-group bias, anyways. Yeah, I'm 6'4". Being attracted to women is the only advantage being tall. I would see, again, I'm going to disagree. Do you know how many guys I see that are like 6'4" and tubby pieces of shit? It's like, I look at that when I see like a 6 foot dude who dresses like shit and looks like crap and fucking fat. I look at that like a girl with fake tits and 30 extra pounds. It's like such a waste. Such a waste. Yeah, women are attracted by behavior. They don't. And it's like, speaking of science, women are actually worse than men across the board at spatial logic. If you ever taken like an IQ test of anything like that, there's like language, there's spatial, there's all kinds of different like categories, and they kind of measure them. Like they call them the different types of IQ. I'm not here to argue whether they're true or not, but here's the point. Is you take people who have done the test. This isn't theory crafting. It's like the results of something. It's like a replication. Women always score worse on the spatial. And you could say, well, there's a reason, like they don't have to hunt as cavemen and shit. They go, whatever. All we know is that you put a guy and a girl together, you put some shit in front of them, say, which one of these is 6 feet? The guy will probably nail it. The girl will probably not. The only thing they know is if you're taller than me and not. In fact, even then they don't know. My girl, absolutely hilarious. She goes, oh, geez, I never realized. She's like 5'3". She's like, I never realized we're the same height. She goes, look. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Like, I can put a straight line from my head to your head, but if the line's not parallel with the ground, we're not the same height. She just giggles. Whatever. But you got to remember, why is it everybody has this giant field of bullshit now? And a lot of that is the coping strategies. It's way easier to convince yourself it's women's fault. And if you have that second emotional hang up that You revere women, like the Woman of Willendorf. You worship women. They're great. The female fantasy. I think even Nietzsche talked about that. You don't actually fall in love with women. You fall in love with your idealized perception, and then meeting one in real life can only disappoint you, or something like that. It might have been somebody else, but... So how do they do it? Well, they need a degree of separation. I can't hate women because it's like, how do you hate God? And so what do? They're like, oh, well, the science says it. Okay, it's not women's fault. It's not my fault. It's science's fault. Because see, there's this biological study about fruit flies that steal DNA from other men. So I don't even hate women. I just hate science. And you're just like... And you realize all of this stuff is just people mirrored in delusional mental retardation. And then we have the gall to start laughing at dudes who want to chop off their dicks and get some surgery to be in their real body as a woman. It's like, the only difference between them and these guys is those people commit. They commit to the bit. These other guys here, they're sitting there like sour grapes building these coping strategies. And this is why I always laugh when people talk about black pill this or MGTOW that. I'm like, how strong is somebody's worldview where they're one blowjob away from a complete change in their ideologies? Like, don't even give me that shit. It's not that strong an ideology if it's a blowjob away from destruction. Yeah, I mean 40% exit strategy for those who commit. Oh, Jesus. It's 41%, I thought. Not the fruit flies, not the DNA of previous partners. Oh my, and see, that's the worst part, is that everybody here knows that. I see you donating fake $100 super chats to you. Very rational male view exposed. Oh yeah, I heard about that. Actually, John, good point. Welcome, man. It's good to see you. So I guess, so YouTube takes, I think it's 30% of super chat revenue off the top. That's their cut. And supposedly what a lot of people do is it's something called blue quarters. If you guys ever remember jukeboxes, you might see them occasionally everywhere. They're like the phone booths for boomers. In the 50s, they were huge. So jukeboxes, you put in a quarter or whatever you put into it, and you hit a button, and it plays you a tune at the bar. And it turns out, psychologically, nobody wants to start the machine, but if the machine is already running, people are more than happy to keep it going. And so what jukebox owners would do is they would spray paint a bunch of quarters blue. They'd give them to the bar, and they're like, or the bartender would spray paint them blue. And they're like, here, if the machine's not on and the place is busy, throw one of the blue quarters in, start a random song, and it'll kick the ball rolling. Oh, and Apple takes 30%. Dude, that's brutal. Yeah. So what a lot of YouTubers had been doing, and I didn't know this, but it makes perfect sense, is that they're sending themselves substantial super chats. And then the super chat, you're paying basically 30% as like a marketing funnel for blue quarters. I have no idea how good it worked. Like, does it work, or is it paralleling things that are already good? That wouldn't be a bad idea, though. I would try it, and to be fair, the only reason I'm not is because I'm fucking lazy. I'm lazy. At this point, we're just sitting here chit-chatting with each other. Yeah, if you're doing it from Apple devices. The $5 super chat was an inside job. Yeah, kind of. Pre-selection. I just call it the blue quarters because I think it's like a very apt example. It does work? All right, fair enough. It's not about, I don't know, it's never me. Like, I don't need money. I've got enough. And if I want more money, I'll just write another book. Which I'm doing. For this one here, like I said, the super chats are great. It's a good way to focus on specific topics you guys may be interested in. It's great support. I absolutely love it. But it's never, like, this isn't the focus of where I want to put the channel, so I've never done that much. But yeah, good point, John. That's actually kind of funny. 43%. Oh, Jesus. 43% self-deleting. That sucks. Yeah, glad I recently got a graphene Dio Googled phone. Oh, see, I just have my OnePlus 7. It was a great Taiwanese company that used to work for LG and made their own phones. It's sort of de-Googleized. It's not the greatest, but it does what it does. I'm more pissed off that Windows keeps trying to upgrade me, and I'm like, I never asked for this upgrade. I'm tired of you downloading gigabyte-sized files when I'm trying to stream, damn it. So what are we at now? Hour 9. Yeah, so we're going to go to the final one. And let's have some fun.
You want to tell me why the majority of people that voted yes, I can be submissive are men?
Just want to talk a little bit about why I love women.
And the majority that said no are women? I would love y'all to ponder that for a fucking second!
I love how they always make sure, by and large, they shower the feminine energy that girls put out. It's magnetic.
You think I can be submissive? You fuck!
I adore it.
I made the thing a year ago. I still laugh every time I look at that goofy shit. Oh, that goofy bastard is the gift that keeps on giving. Oh, Winemore. Yeah, that chick is, I did a red-pilled coffee when I first started noticing there were some TikToks that I could pull a whole video out of. And she was a girl that was bitching, from Vancouver, bitching about how she was dating this dude who bought her a phone and said, if you want me to be your boyfriend, I want you to get rid of your OnlyFans account. So she broke his phone and did a whole bunch of videos bitching about it. And I was like, oh my God, this is absolute gold. And like, you want to know how she dealt with it? She broke the phone, getting mad at him. How dare you tell me how to live my life? I'm going to have my OnlyFans account. Smashed it, broke it, went in front of a mirror and started twerking on TikTok for like 3 straight minutes. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, how do you not get tired after 3 straight minutes twerking? It's like wind sprints. And then, yeah, it was just a bunch of stuff. And there was like lessons for you guys in there. Like, how do you handle this stuff? Trying to be controlling and just like let girls expose themselves, that sort of thing. It was a good, fun one. And I remember at one point, and I don't know if that actually made the cut or not. I just remember she did another one talking about women wanting to be controlling or whatever. And I just thought about Stedman's thing. I'm like, when he's talking about why he loves women, I'm like, what a great juxtaposition about the way guys want women to be and the way women are. And so naturally I have to have fun. I have to have fun with it. Anyways. So sex is taboo. And I think a lot of this is American specific. It's not so much in Canada. Because Canada, I don't know. Canadian girls are easy. So I've heard. Oh, Rolo didn't do anything. It was clickbait. I'm exposing you to the rational male. In other words, exposing you to the purpose and the concept and the history of the book. I'm not telling you Rolo's a dick. Ryan, could I beat him in a fight? Oh, not anymore, because he's going to be in jail pretty soon, John. He's going to be in jail. I think his court date comes up in June. And Biden's still in office. They're probably going to hammer him. Be Impeccable, $7.77 super chat. Love the realness of the content. Best thing out of Canada since David X. Whoa. Who the hell's David X? He better be better than Kids in the Hall. Or a Trailer Park Boys. He might be. Oh, so you don't even know. Okay, yeah, so he did the January 6th thing. He went and he live streamed himself storming the Capitol. One of his old high school buddies saw the live streams and ratted him out to the feds and then got arrested, lost his passport. And that's why the Pat Stedman's Polish passport account is the one that we all know of in here. Which sucked because he had a 6-week-old baby at the time, and he and his wife were going to expatriate to Poland, and they were leaving like a month or two after that. And so when the authorities took his passport away, he basically screwed over his whole family plans because we got to stop the steal from Trump in this country that I just gave up on. So yeah, he might go to jail, he might not, I don't know. It just seems very funny that a lot of these, manosphere guys seem to get arrested so much. So yeah, it's kind of funny. Sean Bipley, just trying to keep you out from under that bridge. Oh, thank you very much, sir. Finally, the Sean Bipley speaks. But yeah, sex is taboo. In America, it's weird. And I know partially it's because there's like, America is unique in that it's the most religious of the developed countries. Usually as a country becomes more developed, it becomes more secular. But in America's case, it's held on very strongly. I mean, part of it's probably because a lot of American identity is built on, what's Europe doing? Let's not do that ever. Soccer, eh? Fuck that. We're doing football. You're going to be secular, eh? Fuck that. Go find Jesus. And so you have this interesting culture. And the problem with that is they make sex taboo. And this has caused a lot of problems over the years. Like, I think, what was this one Twitter account, Redheaded Libertarian, which, whatever. I always have this thing about libertarian chicks. It's like, really? Did you get married? Oh, yeah. All right, so what about that whole keep the state out of my life shit? Never trust a libertarian with a marriage certificate. That's all I'm saying. No hate on you, Mac. I think it's just chucking some shit. So part of that is the 19th. And I hate talking about this because everybody's like, repeal the 19th. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. That'll fly. Let me see if I can just get women to vote to become, non-voting citizens. Not going to happen. But women's suffragettes, terrorists blowing shit up, got the vote. What did they do right after that? Prohibition. What did prohibition do? Created the mafia. Mafia and organized crime. So yeah, giving women the vote actually cost people lives and created an illicit black market industry. Debt went up, spending went up, socialism went up, all those things went up. I don't know about Canada, but the US is the only country I've been to where women want to feel like men. I mean, I think it's a city thing, to be honest, because when I was in Dublin, I kind of noticed that, but it's not everybody. But there's a specific type of woman, usually like the ones who want to be in business, where they just kind of have this weird, I want to have a dick fetish. In Montreal, it was kind of a thing, but Montreal also had like super hyper feminine, I hate the Catholic Church, condoms suck kind of thing about them. And then Toronto, it's 50-50, but more often than not, you can correlate resting bitch face with chicks who want to be men thing. So my theory is that it's urban. It's an urban thing, but I could be wrong. Probably a university thing too, because that's when kids become adults and they're trying to develop their own identity. And then you get a bunch of grifters in the university system. They're like, oh, you know what you need to do? Have a pixie cut and be a man. And they latch onto it because it's something that their parents don't do. A lot of kids kind of develop their identity based on rebelling against everything their parents stood for. So, yeah, probably has to do with population density. Well, the population density, I think, is a correlation, not a causation. But yeah, for sure. But the point of all this, then, is you end up with, like, Catholics knew, alcohol makes babies. The more you get people drinking, the more Catholics they make. And that's why, like, even at church, like, how do we fit wine into church? I got a plan. We'll call it the blood of Christ. And then we'll feed it to them with, like, a little bread tablet so they don't get too drunk. Sounds good. What happens? More Catholic kids. Awesome. But the Protestants, they end up with this sex-negative culture. And you kind of see it now and again. Like, there's that one idiot. I can never remember his name, but he always talks about fornication. Fornication, Rolo, yes or no? And you're like, what the fuck is this guy's problem? I got fired because of the woke mob. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you got fired because you were insufferable, dude. But yeah, so everybody's embarrassed about their sexuality. Like, girls have to pretend, like, and used to be girls had to pretend they didn't like sex because you don't want to be labeled a slut. That would cause consequences. And so they went the total other direction. Now it's like, now I'm going to be a whore everywhere. I'm going to play the skin flute on live streams. Twitch streamers, fucking people on camera. It's the craziest thing ever. But guys kind of went the other route where, because mom hated dad, or because brothers didn't teach them how to sleep with girls, or because, the teachers are telling them, oh, you just got to be nice and be friendly. And Alex Syke, the date guy, is like, well, guys who lead with their sexuality are 63% more likely to look like an idiot. However it gets there, it's just a bunch of guys are afraid to admit, I like sleeping with hot chicks. Say it. You can admit it. It's fine. It's good. So this is like an AA meeting. Assholes Anonymous. It has been 6 months admitting that I actually like to sleep with girls. Fucking hell. What is this shit? But you know what I mean? And it shows up in a lot of ways, and people don't think of it that way. But it's how it manifests, and that's what matters. You go talk to a girl, and I did it. Everybody did it before they knew what they were doing. You go talk to a girl, you be friends. You don't let her know that you think she's hot and you want to sleep with her. But you're like, yeah, you just hang out and do friend stuff, and then hopefully, by some random happenstance, well, eventually sex comes out of this. I don't know how, and it needs to be a surprise. Like, I didn't want this. It just fell into my lap. And then they wonder why they're so miserable. And then they have this whole errant mental model of sex being taboo. How do you that's where you get the people like, oh, I'm going to blame women for everything. Well, I'm going to blame science for everything. No, it's kind of you, bro. It is kind of you. Well, women are women have expectations, but women are malleable. Women love what they have. They love what they get, but once they get it, they have egos the same as guys. Have I ever told you guys this? It was David Buss's and Sidney Minson's Why Women Have Sex. It was a great qual study, qualitative. So it wasn't meant to be hard science. It was meant to like illustrate the issue. But they talked to like hundreds of thousands of women about their experiences around sex on various different topics, adultery, the reasoning, blah, blah, blah. And they kind of gave it to you. It's like a food for thought kind of book. Anyways, where am I going with this one? Oh, yeah. And the reasons that women were having sex were just all over the place. Like, my boyfriend slept with somebody, and so I wanted to revenge fuck. And so I slept with his brother. Or my husband's complaining all the time, and just to put him at ease, I just sit there and take one for the team. It was too cold to go home that night, so I stayed at his place. Or some girl, it was like the weirdest one I remember was a girl was like, I can say no twice, but the third time I have to say no, it's just easier to say yes. Jack, $5 1 cent super chat. Thank you, sir. My favorite Canuck after Red Green. Holy shit. Well, I mean, if they don't find you handsome, at least they can find you handy, right? Jesus, I haven't heard that name in forever. Yeah, see, even one more, please. Like ChatGPT is really good at understanding like the common narrative right now. A relationship should be started based on mutual respect and not tricks. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only way you could frame it. Being charming and attractive? No, that's got to be manipulative tricks. It's like, oh my God, really? Because they have to assume that, well, women don't like sex. Again, it's taboo. Oh no, women don't like sex at all. They like respect, and sex comes out of that. It's like, so sex is fine. It's just the reasoning is bad. Just wanting to have sex with somebody because you're a human being, that doesn't count. It's this weird denying of your humanity. So yeah, it's taboo. And part of it is just not letting shame be dictated to you. I talked about it before, the difference between shame and guilt. Guilt is internal. Shame is external. You can shame somebody else, but they can only make themselves feel guilty. And the point as a guy, having your mental point of origin, is you got to learn to just like ignore shame as a concept and accept guilt. Which is good because guilt is based on your own internal ethics, your internal morals, your internal worldview, right? I develop the things that I want to do in life, the things that I will do, the things I won't do, what I'll put up with, what I won't put up with, who I'll engage with, who I won't engage with. And when I do something that goes against that, I'll feel guilty. That's why the book, When I Say No, I Feel Guilty by Manuel Smith is so big. It's because his assertiveness training is a way of reducing your shame and increasing guilt. And that's where the assertive Bill of Rights come in. You're allowed to say you don't know. You're allowed to say you don't care. You're allowed not to take into consideration the goodwill of others before doing something. Ugh. St. Bernard puppy next door has just creating Thunderdome in the house. So if you hear that. Yeah, and so once you build your own internal locus of control, you're able to have your own things you feel guilty about. Now, the beauty of guilt is it's an immediate feedback. Like if I'm going to feel, yeah, I don't want to cheat on my wife. She's great and like whatever. And you're like, no, I'm not going to do it. Or, you know, my wife hasn't been sleeping with me. I got to get my rocks off somewhere. I'm going to go sleep with somebody else. I don't care. Fuck it. Just keep it quiet. Do your thing, right? But the point is, you can feel guilty about not pursuing your best interest. You can feel guilty about treating the people that treat you well poorly. And that will change your behavior. But the shame never does. The shame is just people getting what they want from you. It's a manipulative thing. Now, I'm not going to say there's no benefits to having shame. Women, I think it's particularly useful because women are very, and this is going to sound horrible, but selfish. And they have to be. It's just the way they are. They don't have the ability to control the world. They can't throw a spear like guys. You can't hunt buffalo. It's fine. They're really good at manipulation because that was their skill. The same way, like, why do girls have to be so manipulative? Girls would ask, why do guys have to be so violent? It's kind of the same thing, right? What kind of tard gets a St. Bernard in an apartment? I don't even know what to tell you, man. The thing's just a puppy, and the dog's bullying him now, but in like 3 months, the thing's going to be twice his size, and the fight's going to be over. That was always the one that made me laugh. Chomsky was like, used to have this puppy, this German Shepherd puppy at the dog park. He used to bully the fuck out of him. And then, like, we didn't see him again for a month, and then a month later we came back. The same dog, twice the size. He just stopped bullying him. It was kind of funny. Oh, I'm not saying that you give it to them. I'm just saying it's more effective. And that's why, like, girls, you can talk them into anything. I think if you guys remember in the book Fuck Files, I talked about the one chapter, I think it's chapter 5, where I slept with a lesbian. And to this day, I'm convinced it's because, and I remember, because I had a friend of mine who I went to flea school with at the time. She was friends with this girl, and this girl went back to my place. We fooled around. I found out later she was a lesbian. But the way the two of them were talking was almost like it was a scavenger hunt to see if I was any good in bed or something like that. I can't confirm if this is true or not, but girls are very easily able to be manipulated into other things. And if you don't believe me, look at your girlfriend or wife talking to your mom, talking to their mom, or talking to their friends. You'll notice they acquiesce a lot if the social pressure is high enough, and that's it. Dog went home monk mode and came back jacked. Sometimes there's no option to avoid an outcome of shame. Of course there is. Of course there is. Just have no shame. And I'm not saying and this is where everybody gets it wrong. They always take when I say have no shame as in, you got to be a complete degenerate asshole. It's like, no, it's just when other people attempt to shame you, you don't let it affect you. You're supposed to have your own internal locus of control. The things that I'll put up with, the things that I won't put up with. So it's not meaning you're going to act like Sneeko. Oh, I'm going to watch my girl get railed. I have no shame. It's like, no, I have no shame. So when I go, work out, when my wife wants me at home for cuddles in the morning and she gets mad at me, I'm just going to be like, oh, you can cry if you want to. I'm still going, Hive mind. Yeah. It's not just Nietzsche either. So that's the funny thing, CJ. Like, this keeps happening. So you'll see Mark Manson talk about models, which is going to be the same thing you'll see Mark Twain talk about in What is Man, which is the same thing that Nietzsche talks about in Thus Spoke the Zarathustra, which is Francois de la Rochefort talked about in Moral Maxims. You get all the way down to Marcus Aurelius. It's all the same thing, repackaged every 100 years with a different prolific author. That's it. Well, see, yeah, it's not be a voyeur. It's just shame isn't a weapon that can be used against you. It's the same thing as sex, weaponized sex. Girls who weaponize the sex life, they hint at sex if you buy them some shit. And you just don't buy them, don't play in the game. If she wanted to sleep with you, she would. If a purse is all it takes to keep her from sleeping with you, then you're not sleeping with her anyway. You can buy the purse if you want to, but you're still not getting there. Yeah, Plato's noble lie, exactly. And here, Renegade too, that's the thing. There's no middle finger. That's what people don't get about this. With the whole sexist taboo and the shaming thing, you don't have to feel strongly about it. A lot of guys think, oh, these broads are doing whatever. Fuck you, ladies. I'm going to go my own way. It's like, no, it's not fuck you. They're acting the way they act. They're going to try this because, frankly, it works. It works for a lot of people. So you can't hold it against them. And so it's not a middle finger. It's just, meh. Good luck with that. Actually, yeah. I think Weimar Police put it best. He used to have this line he would do when he was talking about red pill things with guys, and then the guy would start arguing with him. He's like, you know what? You do you. You do you became like, F off, you stupid retard. That was like what it translated to whenever he said you do you. And I still laugh at that one. But he's like not angry at the guy. He's like, I don't know, you're just a fucking word on the internet. You're just a username. But yeah, you're not angry about it. You're not flippant about it. You're not defiant. Why would you be defiant against some girl? Like, why? Is she your arch nemesis? Really? You picked a 130-pound, 5'3" girl who wants a purse and like, that's my Castor Troy. That's my Castor Troy. I don't know. Just don't take it personally. Even on Twitter, if you guys haven't seen it last week, I made a line, like I don't know what Rolo did, but he said, here's the expose. I'm going to give Rolo a blast of shit next I talk to him. So he did something on a live stream that got angry spinster wannabe girls that don't have no man yet fucking riled up. And they started picking fights here, there, and everywhere. And then this multi-beast guy, I don't know who the fuck he is, but he said something like guys should date younger girls, which I'm like, you can. It's like, should is a strong word, but whatever. And they're getting mad at him, and then they see me, and they're like, well, he must love these internet fights too, to which I'm just like, all right, you want to have this fight? That's fine. So I throw out a little shit post basically saying, yeah, guys don't have to worry about expiration dates. Don't worry about it, fellas. Girls, on the other hand, whew. Those broads did not want to hear that, but they're all shitting on me and angry. Like it was like the museum all over again. 5 hours of being called homosexual. Anyways, one girl was getting particularly orny, and I'm like, look, like, don't take this personally. Frankly, I don't care. I just want you nonsense out of my mentions because not one of you girls is going to buy a book or show up and upvote a live stream. And every time one of you spurg out my mentions, I gain 50 new followers. That's it. So it's just business. Anyway, she didn't want to hear that. She just blocked me. And then Kate kept trying to I had to block a bunch of people, and a couple people blocked me, and it's just like nothing came of it. I got some followers on Twitter, and hopefully we have like a good half a dozen new people on this chat, right? That's how it works. Welcome to funnel marketing. But that's the same, and I'm not telling you to like funnel marketing female outrage. What I'm saying is it's the same attitude of not accepting shame. Not accepting shame. It's that it's just business. Yeah, girls are going to tell you, oh, be friends first. Oh, you got to respect her. Oh, you got to buy. They're going to say all that stuff that doesn't work because they want it to be true. They know it's not in their heart of hearts, but they convince themselves it's not true or that it is true and it's not. And so how can you get mad at somebody for doing that? Like, you're just going to get mad at the scorpion for being a scorpion? Just don't take it across the river. Just don't take it personally. And then once you get past that point, this is where the anger phase kind of goes away and you're stopped like, fuck you bitches, I'm going to get mine. I'm not putting up with this shit. Okay, you're the fucking man. Good job. The Wizard of Radical Self-Respect, $19.90. Oh, thank you, sir. $19.99 super chat. Ryan, I'd like to have you on my channel to talk about BPD, women, and narcissism in men. Unpack your thoughts if you're interested. Keep up the good work. Do me a solid. Hit me up on Twitter and we'll talk further. Yeah, we'll talk further. Oh, my DMs aren't open. Is that you? Is that your Twitter at? Hold on a sec. I'm going to check it quickly. I realized because everybody kept trying to sell me crypto. So I had to close off DMs again. Yeah, put your Twitter at in here. That's usually how I do these, is in the DMs there. It's just easier. But yeah, maybe. I won't commit yet. We'll have a chat first. But it'll be fun. Yeah, I realized lately a lot of girls' excuses are for saving face. See, Martalist gets it. Fucking hate guys talking about BPD and narcissism. HOA opened up that can of worms. Who's HOA? It's a homeowners association? I don't know, guys. Like I said, I don't mind talking about it. Oh, horns. Yeah. Well, that's the problem, right? Is that for a lot of these concepts, there is use. It's the same as I'm saying here. Like, don't take it too personally. When you talk about borderline personality disorder and narcissism, it's really a conversation about the female and the male condition. It really is. Men have a certain bell curve of behaviors, and once you put it to that third standard deviation, they slap the word disorder on it. Same thing with women in borderline. Oh, there we go. Wizards of RSR. There you are. Yeah, so you blap the thing on it. And everybody likes talking about these extreme examples, but you don't need to worry about the extreme examples. I mean, well, technically you do. It's just that the extreme versions... Right, hi. The extreme versions are what kind of teach you about the bell curve. So you see, what do borderline people do? They do crazy shit. I guess I shouldn't spoil this thing. Like, narcissism is what men do. You know, inflated sense of ego, narrative building, that sort of thing. But then you just learn to act on the external side of the bell curve. So you're more narcissism than the average person, which is, like, generally speaking, more attractive. It's one of the dark triad traits: narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. Same as girls. When they talk about girl game, it's essentially acting a more extreme version of borderline, but not a pathological level of, you know? And that goes for everything. Praxeology Volume 1, I had it. It was a reference to a guy out of California talking about how humans weren't built for objective truth, because the objective truth metric and the genetic fitness metric aren't correlated. If they were, more would always be better, right? But instead, it's like, take an example, a resource like water. A little bit of water, too little water, and you dehydrate and you're dead. Too much water and you drown in a flood. So our brains aren't designed to see water as in like a linear function, less water to more water. We're designed to see water as in healthy water and unhealthy water. And so, like, too little water would code for, and you just use like a streetlight example, that's red. Good amounts of water, like enough to drink from a lake, that's green. Too much water, like a flood, that's red. So your body isn't really able to tell the difference between two extremes. It's just able to notice the healthy Goldilocks zone. And this is of any resource. So why wouldn't that also apply psychologically? You know? Yeah, girls that have too little borderline personality, or too little of a borderline personality, they end up being hyper-masculine, narcissistic, that kind of thing. Girls who have too much of it are the crazy BPD chicks. But that butter zone right in there is what you would call like a feminine woman. Same as guys. A girl sees a guy who's a pushover, validation-seeking guy, he's got no narcissism. A guy who's got too much of it would be something like, oh, I don't know.
Not Ryan Stone. I think he's the most important guy in the world. Ryan Stone. Give a fuck about Ryan Stone. Me and him have gone back and forth. Blah, blah, blah. Ryan Stone does not pass the 6-foot test. He's not even a man. So I don't give a fuck with Ryan Stone.
Yeah, CJ, narcissism and self-esteem has nothing to do. They're not at all correlated. But I mean, I'll save that for a different one. Does anybody have a Bugatti at this point? I have as many Bugattis as Tate right now. What else do you got? Tate, what color is your any car at all? Well, fuck off then. Yeah. Getting better at those transitions. I'm working on it. So yeah, just gotta remember, like, shame doesn't matter. It doesn't really work. That's it. So I think I've hit all the topics I want to hit on this one. What do we have for time? Yeah, we got a couple minutes of banter. Then I got to go grab some breakfast, and we are going to talk about not being fat on Rule 0. Oh, did I do the thing? Did I push you guys toward it? That's my question. So the boys have finally... oh, they didn't. The guys are finally doing redirects. Thank God for that. Where in the hell is it? Batman Origins, date wrong. There it is. Don't be fat. So I think Paul's hosting this one, so that should be fun. Mostly about guys and girls not losing weight. Yeah, God bless Rich for that whole interview. Dude, I'm seeing other people milking that one too. I saw Short Fat Otaku putting it up for like his anti-Tate expose. And I just sucks. So I'm like, Rich is a good dude. I hate where like they got a big photo of Rich just standing there while Tate runs his mouth about cam girls. I'm like, I don't need that stink rubbing off on you, sir. Scotty talks trash about every car except for Honda and Toyota. Fair enough. Yeah, so for bands on this one, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, apologies for the clickbait, but it fucking works. So there's a little exposure to the rational male. You understand how it's not about coming up with new ideas. It's not about being at the edge of research. It's about synthesizing things we already know and putting siloed information together in a way that becomes practical and applicable. And that's kind of how the Red Pill got its start. It was a great question about hookers in the middle of the thing, and the mixture of pickup artistry and AI. Also, a good thing for you guys to learn is that critical thinking doesn't really exist. It's just about like being knowledgeable about a subject, learning about it, reading into it, understanding its limitations, understanding its benefits. And that, if you do that with enough different topics, make you a well-rounded Renaissance man. You're able to connect them in disparate ways that people didn't think of, and you can build your own synthesis. And yeah, it matters in everything. You could be the next rational male in some random space somewhere, or you can be the guy who takes girls on a date to a museum because you happen to have a degree in art history, or you're the one who figured out a way to stop being drunk in foreign ports on the first day and missing out your entire experience in Croatia because you're taking your art history knowledge and bringing it to like an event that you guys can do to kill time on the first day of the thing. All this stuff. And then on top of it, sex is taboo and shame is a controlling mechanism and how you can get rid of it, right? Yeah, I appreciate you left the fitness approach open while still emphasizing what the motives should be. Oh, absolutely. Like, that's the thing. There's very few arguments you're going to have online that are more spirited and entrenched than fitness and diet. People have their own religions. It's Mad Cow, it's Strong Lifts, and it's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, all the things work to a certain extent. So what's the goal? And this is where, again, everybody's focused on their systems, but they're not focused on the outcomes. Your outcome is to be more attractive, to be healthier, to have a selfish thing you do, to get your hormones in check, all that kind of stuff, right? So if you've got a better program, go with it. Here are the ones that guys used. Here's why they did them. Here was the effects it had. Take this knowledge, go use it as you see fit, right? And that's the whole point. It wasn't because I'm not a workout pro. I know how to work out. I know how to do the lifts. But I'm not going to sit here and teach you like I'm fucking Strength Coach Dan Ripto himself, or Ripito? I can never pronounce it right. That's your job. Same as cologne. Like, I'm not going to tell you what cologne to buy to make you a man. I'm here to tell you about like how to be deliberate in your decision making, and cologne just happened to be a surrogate for that, right? Like, here's what makes colognes different. You buy the one based on the criteria that you want, and then in the end, it doesn't matter what cologne you buy. But if you're able to approach something small and insubstantial as about how you want to smell, with that a level of deliberate action, then when it comes to everything else in your life, you start to do it. Like, I don't remember if I put the story in the book or not, but I'll tell you this one is the last sailor story, and then we're done. We have these group of sailors that wear red hats. red baseball caps. They're called Sea Trainers. Sea Train Pack, Sea Train Land. Sea Training Pacific, Sea Training Atlantic. They're like the quality control. And whenever you're on a duty watch and it's like 5 a.m. and you see a bunch of red hats on the jetty going towards your ship, you're like, ah, fuck, we're going to have a fire exercise. So part of your sailing schedule is something called workups. WUPs. Deployment workups, rest and relaxation work. Like everything had like you're basically running through all of the motions. You know, have you tried turning it off and on? And part of it was we're out there sailing. We're sailing solo. And, you know, oh, we're changing our condition to this. Go hoist the flags. Go hoist the flags. Go hoist the flags. The whole point of flags is for silent communication that avoids electromagnetic radiation to the horizon. So, and we're like, why do we even put these flags up? There's no other ships here. We're just on ourselves. So, like, why waste our time? And Sea Training came back, is like, look, guys, ordinary seamen, whatever. The whole point of doing this is because when shit hits the fan, I need you to not think. I need you to do. I need you to do it 100% every time. The purpose of doing it here, where it doesn't matter, is so that way when shit hits the fan, you automatically do shit. And that level of deliberate action is like a lot of what Praxeology Volume 1 Frame out in Amazon today is all about. Like, I know even Rich, when he read, he's like, yeah, it's like he had the weird part about like shaving your balls early on there. I don't get it. Like, I get why it's in there, but like, oh, it's okay. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. But that's the point. It's like at the very beginning, and I argued with Nick on this one too. It's like, people are just going to skim by this. I'm like, it's kind of important that it's there. And I get that people might not get it at first, but by the end they will. And that's the point. If you're able to take your fitness routine with a level of specificity and deliberate action, your diet, not so much just here's being told what to do. It's like, here's the things that are out there and here's the outcomes that you're looking for. Pick a system that works for you. And if it's not working for you, switch to something new. Your colognes you pick, the clothes you pick. Why do you want to wear khakis as opposed to jeans? Shit like that. And it's like the first third of the book is like this weird, monotonous, boring stuff that nobody wants this. They just want to be an alpha male. It's like, well, if you can't get the little shit right, the big shit's going to fucking blow you away. So once you have that baseline, that physical pillar, it's much easier to move on from that. So when you start bringing up, you know, sexual strategy type stuff or the psychological hangups you've had from shitty parenting strategies over your childhood, they're much easier to handle because you've done all that work beforehand. Everybody loves to say the words, do the work, but nobody likes the work to actually not be fun. So whatever. Dreamcast is amazing. Indie devs still make like fine new brain. What? Really? No shit. Dreamcast Hub. Been watching all of the backlog of your content. Really changed my outlook on everything. Improved my life. Wife is more content as well. Wasn't the goal, but it's a benefit. Yeah. Well, like she's more content because you're less of a piece of shit. You're a better guy. And that's the tailing indicator is that. So anyways, that's going to be it for this one. I think we can jag it in. Who are we going to end it off with? Who have I not shit on in a while? Oh, what the hey. Let's do it.
I love the way girls smell. I love how they always make sure, by and large, they shower, and they just have an amazing smell to them in general.
All right. So that was it. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. Don't forget, after this, we're going to Paul's channel. We're going to talk about not being fat. Enjoy yourselves. And on that, let's call it. Cheers, boys.